of life, even in that language. So the Platonic
Okay.
solids are descendants from this flower of life. It's them attempting to open it. Now, one of the things that I noticed with nature, and
Okay.
Walter Russell spoke about constantly, was all energy in the universe is expressed in motion, all motion in waves, and all waves are curved. So where did the straight lines come from to make the Platonic solids, the tetrahedron?
Okay.
Those, they just made straight lines where through curved spaces where the circles were intersecting. But it makes sense. This made sense to someone thinking that the world was flat. Here
Okay.
again, no straight lines, but that they draw straight lines through.
Okay.
You see that you see what I'm saying now?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Yeah.
This is the linear perspective of the universe, the linear perspective. And for the last 6,000 years, all our math and science has been built upon this. And therefore, the Pythagorean theorem, all of these things, all of the field equations that they have to explain the largest thing, even gravity, all of those things were based upon how these things move. So let's
Okay.
go to DJ, take them to, yeah, that's much better. Now, we decided to approach it from a different perspective.
Okay.
It was like, let's cut the individual pieces out and put them together according to universal ratio. So as you come down onto this, you'll see what happens when four bubbles meet.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the space that's left over between them. This is the space where the four bubbles do not touch. This is the negative space that controls them. Is that making sense to you?
A little bit. I'm seeing it's literally the in between spaces.
It's the in-between spaces. If you were to take literally four balls together,
Mm-hmm.
or picture four balls in your hand, four marbles in your hand, and if you squeeze them as hard as you can and get them to where they couldn't move,
Okay.
there would still be a certain amount of space that's left over where they cannot touch.
Okay.
That's that negative space right there. Now, this is what happens when four bubbles meet. Now,
Okay.
remember, they had the square. Now, let's go to where eight bubbles meet. And we can scroll over the top of it. Now, this right here, by all of the literature and by how it behaves, they would normally call this something to do with being the proton or the center, the drawer, the center attractor. Go back
Mm-hmm.
to the one that had four, DJ.
Yep.
Thank you. This having four, what this shows here is that there are 8 poles to the smallest dynamic, because each pole has a point on it or it has a concavity to it. The ones with the point is spinning out, it's expanding. That one is actually spinning its way out. So those become magnetic because they expand their way out. But the ones that are concaved,
Okay.
that space right there, that's the job of electricity. It's always tightening things. So we see even from the smallest piece, this is the highest pressure condition, that there are at least 8 poles. You have 4 electric poles
Mm-hmm.
and you have 4 magnetic poles. There's at least 8 poles that's interacting, whereas before we were taught that there was only a North Pole and a South Pole.
Mm-hmm.
So now you see how these things could change technology, because now we can draw more poles off of it. So now once you go to when you put 6 of these things together, the green, yep, and you watch how now you have 8 poles, 16 poles, and another 8 poles of interaction of something that they would normally call a photon, how it behaves.
Okay.
Now, remember the last thing that had 6 sides to it was a cube. Now you can imagine the things you can build with a cube. You can make a whole lot of. Most of our world is built off of cubes.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine what could be built upon these?
Oh my goodness. I'm trying to picture a house being this shape. That's what I'm picturing.
I have to tell this story with it. Now we'll go to when 12 bubbles meet. Now, what's interesting with the flower of life, it's also been called the tree of life. And we all know the story about the tree of life, that mankind, that the Adam and Eve was blocked from getting to the tree of life so that they couldn't eat from its fruit and live to time indefinite.
Okay.
I'm saying that the tree of life has now been opened again to mankind in these wave conjugations that come from the flower of life, because these are the true fruits in comparison to the dodecahedron that was drawn across. Now you can go to when 24 bubbles meet. And each one of these is just a different pressure condition. This pressure condition hasn't even been discovered yet.
This is with how many?
This is when 24 bubbles meet.
Okay.
This is the negative space where they contain themselves. This is their constitution. This is their province, the laws that cover whatever that small municipality is, No drinking after such and such. The bar must close at this hour, But this is a negative space of negative space. And I can show you, some of these things that I have here. And let me turn this around.
Okay.
To give you a better idea.
Did you actually sculpt that?
These are things that were made for me. I had to get 3Ds. These are the ones that I built.
Oh wow. Wait, can you pick it up? Yeah.
I don't know, can you see it?
Turn it, get it a little bit closer. I think you're kind of out of the frame.
I'm trying to.
Yep, there we go.
Remember, it's a delay on this.
Oh, yeah.
But this is what happens when 6 bubbles meet. A whole new geometry occurs.
So
and then...
Sorry, it's a little bit of delay.
I know, I gotta go. I want to get back to just me again.
Yeah.
So, everything comes down to 2 separate sides. There's the magnetic side,
okay,
where 4 bubbles meet, which is the first thing that I discovered, which is an all shape. Because I wanted to figure out how many numbers. Like they said, 3 was the magic number.
Mm-hmm.
So what really was it? The Holy Trinity, a lot of things, good things comes in 3s. We hear all these different stories about 3s, but there was nothing sustainable about 3. It turned out in order to see height, width, and depth as far as perception, you need 4 dimensions. You need your height, your width, and your depth, but you also need your 4th perspective.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be equal and opposite to all the other sides to it. And that pressure condition looks just like hydrogen.
Can you turn it a little? Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. Now this is expanding. These has, if you were to drop this in any kind of fluid, these fins on it would make it fall slower. Even though it has a lot of positive charge in these collective areas. But now imagine it this way, without the fins, and which one do you think will move quicker if it was dropped?
The one without?
The one without, that would be the one with the greatest electrical potential. Because it doesn't have these magnetic things that's pushing and expanding off of it. And the entire universe ends up being built as a result of these things. Maybe I went too close.
Yeah, that's good.
These things turning into now these. Now it'll be a lot better if I allow DJ to show you these things on